is our group member. Let me introduce myself. I'm Nur Farahani binti Nazri, and we have Afin Nazran, Izmir Ahmad, Susila Sunggau, Irdani Farzana, and Amelia Hafiza. So today we're gonna talk about the definitions of autocratic leadership, the characteristic of autocratic leader, the example of autocratic style, advantages and disadvantages, and then the last one is the effectiveness of autocratic leader style in the project performance.
Autocratic leadership is a management style in which one person manages all the decisions and receive very little input from other group members or colleagues. Autocratic leadership is characterized by the centralization of decisions, which is making and directive power in a single dominant leader. Also, an autocratic leader is someone who makes choices or decisions without involving other people in the decision. The leader of a company makes the decisions for the company, even though many people might disagree with them. This type of leadership style can be seen mostly in businesses that are relatively with fewer number of employees.
The characteristics inherent in an autocratic leadership style are: first, the authority is in the hand of one person, which is leader. Leaders make nearly all decisions, including goals, tasks, projects, and work process. They dictate all work methods and process to their subordinate and do not entrust essential decisions to subordinates. Second, jobs tend to be highly structured and inflexible. It's nearly impossible to bring up creativity and out-of-box thinking. It stifles innovation. Absolute control hinders the ability of subordinates to be creative. Third, leaders exercise authoritarian control and closely monitor their subordinates. To run the organization, they set strict rules which the subordinates must obey. They clearly communicate these rules so the subordinates understand and implement them without questions. Next, leaders view the interests of subordinates as less important than the organization, and the last one is empowerment of group members is low.
Move! 1, 2, 3, let's go! Explode! Let me hear you! Explode! Worm, explode! Touch the floor! Touch the floor! Give me 5! Give me 5! 5! Push! Go! 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 Let me hear you! Come on! Close out! John! Explode! Let's go! Sir, you're 20 minutes late. That's 10 suicides for the whole team. 250 push-ups for you.
This ain't the track team, man.
Nor is it the debate team, Mr. Lyle. But you're right. And because you're right, that's 20 suicides for the entire team, and you get the privilege of joining Mr. Battle with 250 push-ups of your own.
What, are you serious?
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
Ding, 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 ding. Good answer, Mr. Battle. Johnny, tell him what he's won. Because you gave such a good answer and you gave the coach attitude, you win the bonus prize of 500 push-ups. And would you like to go for the grand prize of 1,000?
No, sir.
To the baseline. On my whistle. Let's go.
JB?
This is an example of autocratic leadership. From the scene of Coach Carter 2005, we can see that instead of listening why his student, which is Mr. Battle, was late, Coach Carter already gave him a punishment without any consideration. This is one of the characteristics of autocratic leader, where they often make a decision before learning or discussing it with others. Next, as a coach, Mr. Carter let Mr. Lay, which is his student, to be punished with Mr. Battle when he not agreed what Mr. Carter had done to his friend. Next, this is another example that use autocratic leadership in their management, which is Bill Gates. In the early years of Microsoft, Bill Gates used an autocratic leadership style to ensure that the business expanded at the rate at his inventions. This kind of boss makes most of the organization decisions without consulting workers. Control is essential to his character and management style as an autocratic leader. Gates' autocratic leadership style is any other at its advantages and disadvantages. This approach may be beneficial in certain situations, such as when choices must be made quickly without consulting a big numbers of people. Some should require the presence of a strong leader in order to compete effectively. Aside from the advantages, the method may be troublesome in certain cases because Bill Gates takes choices without consulting his employee. His worker may hate him or the company because they are not permitted to offer suggestions.
Advantages of autocratic leadership. For the first advantages is it is allowed for the fast decision to be made. When a company has created autocratic leadership, there are fewer layers of administration that must be kept informed of its decision. In addition, there is less input from various levels of management that must be analyzed. This is since there is just one person in charge of all arrangements. Next, it will improve overall communication. When a business has numerous layers of leadership, a directive from the top might feel like a childhood game of telephone. Each level of management can mistakenly put their own spin on the leadership communication. The whole original message may be lost by the time the information reaches the frontline employees who conduct most of the job. Because the order is given directly to the employees, autocratic leadership removes this problem. Next, it will improve productivity. There are less delay in production because authoritarian executives may swiftly transfer information throughout a company. Workers are less likely to abandon projects or request extension if their supervisor makes timely choices and communicate with them. This has a favorable effect on the work environment, resulting in more accurate and consistent output. Next, autocratic leadership will handle crisis situations effectively. It is because they are the one in power. Autocratic leader can easily handle a crisis scenario. If there is a short-term difficulty, the leader knowledge can be leveraged to devise a solution. For long-term issues, an autocratic leader may more efficiently direct traffic in certain direction than can suit, resulting in solutions that can be swiftly take and enterprise output of the trouble condition. And lastly, autocratic leadership can counter team inexperience. If an unskilled team is put under the command of an authoritarian leader, they will be able to complete the task by providing clear direction to follow. Workers may profit from their leader abilities, repeating productivity by utilizing the leader's knowledge and expertise as a worker's advantage. This sort of leadership is the greatest option when there is not enough time to learn anything new or when a job must be done quickly.
So, we proceed to the disadvantages of autocratic leadership. The first one is it frequently leads to micromanagement. It is because the autocratic leader's reputation that is at stake, not the worker doing the work. Persons in this type of role prefer to monitor every small aspect of the work being done. Many autocratic leaders become severe micromanagers, making it impossible for employees to execute the job since they are constantly required to report on what they are doing at any given time. When this happens, production rates tend to fall rather than rise over time. Next, it creates a lack of trust. The capability of employees to trust their leadership and vice versa is what leads to a good working relationship. Mistrust is the foundation of the autocratic leadership style. Leaders must presume that their employees are not doing as well as they should, which necessitates close supervision to guarantee that outcomes are achieved. These kinds of interaction do not create a long-term working relationship, which leads to decreased productivity as workers' morale drops. Next, the disadvantages of autocratic leadership is it provides no sense of professional ownership. Autocratic rulers are in charge and they clarify things. They get to claim full credit for the task that is completed. As a result, workers are less likely to take ownership of their work since there is little motivation to do so. They will not be blamed if it fails, and they will not be credited if it succeeds. Next, it establishes a work culture focused on the leader. When an autocratic leader is ethical and motivated to establish a fair working environment, there can be a lot of benefit for employees in the organization. However, if the leader has poor ethics and refuses to ensure equality, no one can truly hold that person accountable. Because the work culture is primarily founded on the leader's ethics and morality, a negative working environment is unlikely to change. Lastly, it develops a dependent system. Employees are compelled to depend on the autocratic leader for all feedback, instruction, and job responsibilities. If they are presented with a problem at work, they are virtually forced to seek guidance from the leader rather than making the decision on their own. This makes it nearly hard for leaders to leave their workplace because employees might become so reliant on their decision-making abilities that nothing gets done if the leader is not present for some circumstance.
So, what are the effectiveness of autocratic leadership? First, autocratic leadership may control the work performance in the group. As we know, autocratic leadership is a management style that is based on the decision maker. So the leader can monitor all the work performance in the group. Next, autocratic leadership may assign responsibility to teamwork. Next, it also can establish the deadlines for the project. Autocratic leadership also can perform better and achieve good quality of works that focus on one decision and choices. And last but not least, the project may finish on time without any difficulties and failure.